This video is a definitive experiential review of the Sony WH-1000XM5 and comparison between the Sony WH-1000XM4s, Apple AirPods Max, and the Bose QuietComfort 45, all from the perspective of an audio engineer. I've been a professional audio engineer for over 15 years mixing for concerts and bands, so I can bring a ton of experience, insight, and high-end professional equipment into this review. This is an immersive and experiential review where you'll be able to hear the comparative differences between all these headphones while we listen to multiple songs from various genres and more. I'll even let you hear my custom EQ settings for the Sony WH-1000XM5s that truly make them leaps and bounds better. Now, you want to make sure that you're wearing headphones or earbuds in both ears in order to have the best experience for this video. Go ahead, pause, and make sure you put them on before we continue. That's because of this $2,000 binaural mic that records audio the way that your ears hear within the environment that you're in. That means you'll be able to hear close to what I hear and in a way where you can identify where I am around you. In fact, that last sentence and this sentence was recorded with this microphone, and you can tell when I'm talking into your left ear or your right ear. And you can even tell when I'm walking all around you. The best part about this specific model of microphone is that unlike other mics that only cover a portion of the human hearing range, this one covers the entirety of the human hearing frequency range, so you'll get a truly high fidelity experience. So let's hear what it sounds like if you're wearing these headphones and listening to music. In each test in this video, we'll start and end with the original reference track and cycle through each headphone. You'll be able to see which headphone you're listening to by looking at the label up top. Now for this specific track, it has a lot going on. Listen for the sub frequencies, the high end from the snare and hi-hat type sounds, and the mid-range from the synth. By the way, just so you understand the flow of this video, we'll listen to a song sample between each section of the video. There are also chapters available so you can easily find your way around. The build quality of the XM5s feel far more soft in both look and feel compared to the XM4s, and avoid that feeling of tons of plastic like what you get on the Bose QC45s, and that's because of the soft touch coating on the ear cups and a leather-like material that covers the entire headband and the actual ear cushions themselves. The one downside, and I assume especially for the black model like this, is that grease and sweat can really make this thing look gnarly. Amongst all the headphones here, the XM5s feel the most comfortable for me, with less head tension than the XM4s and AirPods Max, and they do kind of have a similar feel to that of the QC45s, but a bit more consistent and much softer on the ears and the top of the head. While it doesn't feel as premium as the AirPods Max with its heavy metal build, the XM5s have a feeling of being extremely refined but strangely fragile. That comes from the ear cup mechanism that makes it feel like it's floating. That floatiness makes me worry that it's all going to fall off, but I can assure you it's quite secure. The resistance in bumpers and all the movements is extremely smooth and quiet compared to the XM4s and QC45s. The Bose feel the cheapest amongst all of these. The XM5s also adopt the smooth tube design of the AirPods Max instead of a notch design. Unfortunately, it doesn't fold up like the XM4s, so that may or may not matter to you depending on how much you travel. Let's listen to the next sample. In this one, listen to the low end, the reverb from the vocals and the snare, the sharpness of the hi-hat, and the stereo spread from the wah-wah sounds, and let us know in the comments what you notice. You also have the typical buttons on the left ear cup to turn it on, pair, and change it between ANC and ambient mode. On the right ear cup, you have the gesture controls as usual to change the volume up, play, pause, or move between tracks. One feature that is neat is that you can put your palm on it and it'll manually go to the ambient transparent mode. We'll explore this a bit more later. It also has support for the Google Assistant and Alexa, or you can hold it down to activate Siri if you're on an Apple device. There's also a sensor on the inside that you can't see that will detect whether you're wearing it or not, which is quite nice. Unfortunately, the XM5s lose the NFC pairing feature that was available on previous 1000XM models, so that's unfortunate. But much like the XM4s, there is Android Quick Pair abilities, which is very nice. Now this song is a very mid-rangey, warm, and soulful track. Listen to her vocals, the electric guitar lines, and the keyboard. One of the standout features of Sony's headphones and earbuds is its industry-leading active noise cancellation, or ANC. While many companies are easy to say that they have ANC on their products, their effectiveness and quality are so wide-ranging that it means very little to me. When I think of proper ANC, I think of like a room with no reflections, like an anechoic chamber, and that's kind of like being stuffed in a closet full of mattresses and blankets. The only brands that I know of that pull this off well are Bose, Apple, and of course Sony. If there are others that are up to that standard, let me know in the comments. On the XM5s, they claim that they have twice as much processing power and microphones than the XM4s, and that includes an inward-facing microphone that picks up any remaining artifacts that makes its way through the external mics. That means I can get rid of some of those higher-pitched whines and whistles that the XM4s would sometimes let through. At least that's what they claim. So does it actually accomplish that? Well, let's listen to how it stacks up against the competition, and you'll be able to see how the ANC impacts things on the graph. Who do you think did it best? Let me know in the comments. I did notice that the XM5s managed to take out more of the mid-range that you normally would notice. It did leave a little bit more of the high end in there, but that's something that people may not notice or would be bothered by as much. For this track, listen to how clear the bass guitar is on the track, as well as the electric guitar, and then listen to how bright the cymbals are in this track. Now, it's one thing to cancel out the mid-range and high end of the environment around you. It's another thing to cancel out low sub-frequencies. I set up my studio monitor setup with this beefy subwoofer that gives me the ability to produce some extremely tight and loud low end. I also use these other types of binaural microphones to pick up the natural low end resonant frequencies that come from my body being impacted by those low end frequencies. And that's just something that you can't get by using these ears because, well, it's ears and not a body. Sound is weird. Anyways, take a look at this. It's quite shocking.
I'ma make noise in the street, please. All that fake love. With my energy, please. I'ma make noise in the street.
I'm actually blown away. The AirPods Max was clearly trying to do something to counter the subfrequencies because the cabin pressure, or the pressure that you feel from your ears from the ANC, was the most intense I've ever felt coming from them. And looking at the graphs, it managed to cancel out the higher subfrequencies around 100 Hz better than all of them. But oddly, both the Sonys had this weird sensation of having less bass despite not canceling out that 100 Hz range very well, at least according to the graph. The only way I can explain it is that the frequencies below that are canceled out faster and greater than the AirPods Max. So while it doesn't look like they're doing as good of a job as the AirPods Max on the graph, the way it feels in the room is significantly better, and maybe the intense cabin pressure may be a part of that perception as well. That would be the difference between something very clinical like this and something organic that moves and adapts like your actual ears. Also, I can actually hear the XM5's noise cancellation optimizer automatically kicking in, which is really cool. You can even see the dip in the waveform. Listen to how the audio started a bit loud when you first put on the headphones, and then it goes quiet. That's pretty cool stuff because you had to manually do that on the XM4s. For this song, pay attention to the clarity of the attack of the acoustic guitar strings, but how forward the mid-range is in the body of the guitar and vocals.
When the nights get cold, sometimes when I look over, I see you by a fire with your hands out in the open, and I wonder if you're singing autumn song. If I'm singing all alone, I must be singing on my own. I'm still falling out of love with you.
Okay, time for some neat nerdy stuff. Canceling out audio is extremely difficult, and it has to do with this thing in audio called phase. You see, with audio frequencies, the waveforms go up and down at different lengths between each hill and valley. To cancel out audio, you have to replicate the exact waveform and do what's called inverting the phase, which is essentially flipping the whole waveform upside down, resulting in this hill being canceled out by this valley, and ideally you get nothing. Here's an example through a song. I have a version where everything's normal, things are in phase as they would call it, and then eventually it flips phase, and so you hear it kind of drop out and become narrow. And then I'll move the speaker away and then move it back to cross beams with the other speaker, and you'll hear how it becomes hollower or less bassy. Did you hear that? The result is a kind of phasey sound as both sound sources started to cancel each other out, where the hill and valley happen to most match. That's why you end up having less low end. The thing is, most of it doesn't match up perfectly, so it ends up sounding hollow like an effects pedal for a guitar that sounds, well, phasey. So I wasn't able to cancel it out perfectly, and that's because sound waves are so unpredictable and can be impacted by other sounds, distance between the speaker and your ears, and even the wind. That's why it's pretty amazing that these headphones can even do any sort of noise canceling in real time with everything that happens around you. By the way, if you appreciate all the work that went into this video, we now have super thanks enabled on the channel, so you can send us a tip to thank us, or you can even become a channel member and get exclusive content like audio samples from some major artists that we couldn't include in this video for copyright reasons. Videos like these take over 40 hours to make with over $20,000 of equipment to give you the best headphone review possible. Now listen to this song. It has a lot of great reverb going on. Listen to how forward the vocals sound, and if you can hear as much of the percussive instruments in the background or if they sound really buried. This is where the mid-range can really bring out some instruments. The bass guitar is also a really great part of this song. Okay, now we're outside. We're going to test out transparency mode. Transparency mode is a really helpful feature that allows you to engage with your environment without having to take off your headphones. For this test, we also have these binaural earbuds that allow you to record the environment as well. We'll activate it once we put on the headphones. I'm wearing the AirPods Max, and I can hear it. How's it going?
It's going pretty well.
On the Bose QC45s.
The best of the best.
Are they the best? What kind of bird do you think that is?
Probably a robot.
Oh, robots. Okay.
Government spy.
Now we're in transparency mode on the Sony XM5s. You can hear the birds chirping. How are you today?
I'm good.
All right.
What's changed since last time?
Who do you think did it best? So the AirPods Max honestly are my favorite for transparency mode. It sounds really natural and pretty much like real life most of the time, except that the high end tends to be a little bit thinner than in real life. So let's take off the headphones and hear what the difference is. And this is what real life sounds like. What do you think? I think it's pretty good. Right now we're by a very busy intersection right now. There's a lot of noise that's being produced by all the cars and stuff like that. And the neat thing about the app is you have the ability to adjust it manually between noise canceling, ambient sound, and off. You can also adjust the level of ambient sound that you want, and even have the ability to focus on the voice if you want to. There's also this feature called Speak to Chat that will notice when you're talking, as long as you're in a quieter environment. It's not really working as well here, outside with all this noise and kids talking and stuff like that. But within the app, you have these settings for Speak to Chat where you can adjust the sensitivity for it, and then even go into the time until the mode closes. It's kind of like a gate, so if it hears your voice talking, it'll open it up to that transparency mode, and then it'll close it. And you can set it to short, so about 5 seconds. It's really like 8 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or anything else. And this is really helpful, especially with situational awareness. That's another feature that's on here, so it'll know where you're at. And you definitely don't want to have your active noise canceling on when you're walking across something like a sidewalk. And then here's an example of the Speak to Chat where it just opened up right now, and now I can hear myself and I can hear the environment around me, and then in just a few seconds it'll close. Now what is really cool is that you can control this ambient control on the XM5s easily by just putting your hand on the right ear cup and then saying something real quick to someone who may be asking you something, and then it'll go into transparency mode and even lower the volume of whatever you're listening to. We'll turn on some airplane noise. Yeah, I'd like a Coke. For this song sample, we have to get a classic Frank Sinatra string-like song. So pay attention to the strings, the piano, and the space that's given for those strings in the vocals.
The sun is going down. Your skin is like a painting. The light is perfect now. I can feel it changing. Kids are probably soon. Don't get me wrong, I'm ready. Well, I know what to do when we're no longer two. When us means more than me and you. Oh, if I wished myself a superpower, I would make this moment last for hours. If I had my will, time would just stand still. Wait for me until I find some magic film.
Now let's talk about Bluetooth connectivity. In my initial impressions video, which you can check out in the card up here, I mentioned that the connectivity was actually really quite surprising. It was able to go to the other side of my house and maintain a connection. Okay, so we have the iPhone right here. We're gonna place it right here by this tree. And I'm just gonna run down there and see how far I can go until I lose connection. That's pretty good. It was about 7 trees down there before it just started to lose a connection. It'd go in and out. AirPods Max, kind of the same distance. I will say that the little squeak from the brakes on the truck over there, it really hurt. It's really shrill. Okay, interestingly enough, the Bose started to drop out around the same spot. The difference is it had a hard time reconnecting for a few more trees. So it just wasn't as fast at reconnecting. Well, that's quite the upset. The XM4s had the furthest distance. Maybe that's just a margin of error. They all did pretty well except for the Bose and just the reconnecting. And I will say, all of them, you can run in them and it's actually pretty comfortable except for the AirPods Max. No surprise. Okay, after all that running, we gotta listen to a song that's, you know, pretty ampy. So listen to this one, it has a really solid low end, and then pay attention to the high end from the snare and the hi-hats. It can actually reveal a bit about how each headset handles the high end. For the microphones in the XM5s, Sony has doubled the amount of microphones compared to the XM4s for a total of 4 beamforming microphones that they claim that their AI noise reduction makes for the best call quality. Well, let's find out. I'm recording audio over Bluetooth right now through the Bose QC45s. What do you think it sounds like? Interestingly, I can kind of hear myself like an echo, so that's kind of annoying. I'm recording audio over Bluetooth right now with the Sony WH-1000XM4s. How does it sound? I'm recording video over Bluetooth with the Sony WH-1000XM5s. How does it sound? I'm recording video right now with Bluetooth with the Apple AirPods Max. This one also has a weird thing going on where I can hear myself kind of repeated in the headphones as well. Kind of weird. Interestingly, only the Sonys didn't have that issue with the echo playing back through my headphones as I talked, so weird. Now we're talking over the microphone in a simulated busy environment using the Bose QC45s. Now we're in a simulated busy area talking over the microphone with the Sony WH-1000XM4s. And now we're in a simulated very noisy area talking over the microphone with the Sony WH-1000XM5s. Now here's a simulation of me in a very crowded space talking over the microphone with the Apple AirPods Max.
Now this is what it would sound like if someone were to give me a call and I was wearing the Bose QC45s. And this is what it would sound like if I were to receive a phone call and I was wearing the Sony WH-1000XM4s. This is what it would sound like if I were to receive a phone call from someone else and I was wearing the Sony WH-1000XM5s. And yes, this is an HD call. Now this is what someone else sounds like if they were to give me a call if I were using the AirPods Max.
Now for this track, it's from my personal friend Hannah Parrott. Listen to how dynamic the track sounds, and if you can hear all the layers from the horns and the various strings and melodic percussion instruments. As for whether or not you should use any of these for gaming, well, not really. Audio delay over Bluetooth is fairly significant across all of them, which makes games like first-person shooters pretty much unplayable, even on mobile. You can use an aux cable to connect all these directly to your computer or mobile device, and that can definitely help out with latency. And while it does make a difference on mobile, it's still pretty bad, especially for the Bose. But PC is pretty good. Oh, and forget about using the AirPods Max wired into a PC or Android because I just couldn't get it to work. Also, I couldn't find a single lightning to lightning cable to connect it to my iPhone because, well, Apple's just dysfunctional port issue. It's just a nightmare. This song has a killer bass line on it. Pay attention to that, the synth, and the vocal reverb. Now this next track you'll be able to hear my custom EQ settings for the Sony WH-1000XM5. Keep in mind that the pattern in which I switch between EQs is different than before with the songs. My custom EQ is going to play a little bit longer between the default EQs, and when I was EQing the XM5s, I wanted to brighten them up a bit because Sony's headphones tend to be a little bit dark. I also wanted the mid-range to be present, forward, and warm while cleaning up that low-end mud. If you listen to the difference between my custom EQ and the return back to the default EQ at the end of the sample, it kind of sounds like you were put into a closet compared to my custom EQ. My general impression for the XM5s is that they're the best sounding option amongst all the other headsets for a starting point, and that's because it handles EQ adjustments very well. Unlike the Bose QC45s and the Apple AirPods Max, it doesn't have the mid-range scooped out to the depths or the high-end shrillness that you get especially with the AirPods Max. The XM4s overall are kind of a dull sounding headset with a ton of tubbiness and low-end mud and mids, and I don't really like them. I think the XM5s had the best sounding mid-range out of all the headsets, and surprisingly, the default app EQ was enough to get most of that taken care of. Now if you want access to my EQ settings and a deeper explanation and walkthrough of how these EQ settings were chosen where you can actually hear the difference, all you have to do is become a member by hitting the join button next to the subscribe button. You'll also get exclusive content with audio tests from major artists I couldn't include from this video for copyright reasons, and so much more. It seriously helps pay for all the expensive equipment and all the time that goes into making these videos. Now keeping what I just mentioned about all the quirks about each headset in mind, this next song is a perfect way to really hear these characteristics easily. This song is an arena stomper that throws a wide spectrum of frequencies at you. Pay attention to how the high end and mid range changes between headsets. Some will sound shrill in the high end where there's a hi-hat, and some will sound hollow from the mid-range being scooped out. Now the question you probably have is, should you buy it? And as any reviewer would say, it depends. And any good YouTuber will also say links for all of them are down below in the description and help support the channel. Now here's some things to consider. If you want the best ANC, go with the XM5s. If you want the best transparency mode, go with the AirPods Max. If you want the most comfortable, go with the XM5s. If you want the best build quality, go with the AirPods Max. If you want the most travel-friendly option, choose the XM4s or QC45s. If you want the best microphone quality, well, go with the XM5s. If you want what I think is the best sound quality, provided that you adjust the EQ to get there, go with the XM5s. But hey, some aspects of sound sound can be subjective and based on your preferences, so you're allowed to have a different preference than me. Then you have to consider the prices. The Sony XM5s come in at a list price of $399.99. The XM4s are about $50 less at $349.99. The Bose QC45s at $329, and the Apple AirPods Max come in at a list price of $549. Of course, all of these can go on sale at different times, so that can change up a bit. When it all comes down to it, whether or not you should buy these depends on what you specifically care about more, and it's my job to present all these different points to consider to find the best fit for you. Now, if you want me to give you my personal preference, I'll tell you right after this video sponsor, Seeker. As you've probably figured out from how I present these tests, I want to present things with clarity, and more often than not, show you how things sound in an objective rather than only subjective take with my opinion. That way you're able to make your own conclusions. That's why I love that I've been able to partner with Seeker, who is sponsoring this portion of the video. Seeker is an independent search platform that's powered by artificial intelligence and machine learning that gives you control over how you search. One of the things I love the most about Seeker is its Seeker score and how it helps me avoid clickbait and finds articles that focus more on objectivity rather than opinions. You can simply search for something on Seeker, look at a category, or look at the top news section. However you use it, you'll see a number here called a Seeker score, and that is calculated based on a bunch of different factors, including whether or not it's clickbait or an objective rather than subjective take. If it has a lower score, it often lacks in these areas, and I've often noticed that the lower score websites are often frustrating to use. The article is poorly written, has tons of filler words and paragraphs, and it's sometimes a whole article based on one tweet when the whole article could have been a tweet. So that's why I like looking at the higher scores that focus on objectivity, so I can access high quality articles with more facts than opinions. You can even use a simple Seeker score filter to only see high quality options altogether. It's really easy to use. So check out my go to Seeker, SEEKR.com, and thanks to Seeker for sponsoring this portion of the video so I can make in-depth videos like this for you for free. Now, if you really want to know my preferences, I can definitely say that I would not get the Bose QC45s. There are just better options in every way but price for them. And I wouldn't get the XM4s even if they fold because, well, I'm an audio engineer and I care about sound quality. For me, I would personally pick the Sony XM5s because it has the best sound quality after my custom EQ tweaks. It also has the best ANC and, in my opinion, the best microphones while still being comfortable at the same time. The one thing that sinks is that the AirPods Max have an extremely high quality build and the transparency mode is unreal, but at the end of the day, other things win out for me. So what do you think about this immersive and experiential review? Let me know your thoughts and what you'd like to see in future reviews like this and how I can improve them. Let me know which headphones you'd prefer and make sure you purchase them by clicking the link in the description or right here. Also, go check out these other videos of mine about audio. Full disclosure, Sony did send these out to me early for review, but they did not pay for this video and they have no editorial opinion or insight into this video and they're seeing it for the first time alongside you. Thanks for watching. This is Tech Today. Until next time.